Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. We want a quiet. That's all. Just a few days of complete, soul-numbing quiet. No emails. No phones buzzing. No notifications. Just me and my brother Eric and the trees. That's how we ended up in a forgotten corner of Oregon, where the woods were so thick they felt alive, and the nearest gas station was an hour away. The cabin we rented wasn't much. Wooden walls that creaked like old bones, a rusted stove that smoked more than it cooked, two cots that sagged in the middle like someone had lived and died on them, and an outhouse that smelled like it hadn't been used or emptied since Nixon was president. But it was off-grid, exactly what we needed. We got there just before dark. The sun dipped below the tree line like it was hiding, and everything got cold fast. We unpacked what little gear we had, lit a fire in the stove, and cracked a couple of beers, pretending we weren't creeped out by how quiet it was. Not peaceful quiet, heavy quiet, like the woods were holding their breath. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the crackling of the fire and Eric's soft breathing. Then, sometime around 2, I heard it. A scream. Not a woman. Not a man. Not even an animal. Just something. Long, sharp, and wrong. Like nails dragged across glass, and someone choking at the same time. I sat up, my heart already racing. Eric was awake too, sitting bolt upright in his cot, his eyes wide and glossy in the dim firelight. "You hear that?" he whispered. I nodded. We didn't speak for a few seconds, just listened. And then, again, the scream came. Muffled, echoing, like it wasn't from the forest itself, but inside something. "It's coming from behind the cabin," Eric said. "From the tree." There was a tree out back, a big one, gnarled and wide, the kind of tree that looked like it had watched centuries pass. We noticed it when we arrived, but didn't think much of it. Now I wish we had. We grabbed our flashlights and went outside. Dumb, I know. But that scream, it wasn't curiosity that drove us out there. It was something else, like we were being pulled toward it. The night was thick, the air cold and sticky. Our boots crunched the frostbitten ground as we circled the cabin. The tree stood like a giant behind it, branches twisted like arms reaching upward in agony. As we got closer, the sound got louder. Not quite a scream anymore, but more like a cry. Deep, wet sobbing from inside the tree. I raised my flashlight and pointed at the trunk, and then it moved. Not like the wind, not like leaves rustling. The bark shifted, slowly, as if something underneath the surface was pushing outward, trying to come through. There was a long, thin crack running down the center of the tree, and from that crack, something slid out. Black, shiny, wet. At first I thought it was sap, but sap doesn't move like that. It curled, twitched, reached out like a hand, but it wasn't a hand. Not really. It had too many joints. The fingers were too long, and it was tapping on the bark. Tap, 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 like it was knocking to be let out. Eric grabbed my arm and pulled me back. I didn't even realize I'd been walking toward it. I don't know why. I just wanted to touch it. And then the tree screamed again, louder than before. Violent, desperate. We ran. I tripped over a root and hit the ground hard. Eric yanked me up, and we scrambled back into the cabin, slammed the door shut, locked it, bolted it, pushed a chair against it like that would do anything. We sat up all night, didn't speak, didn't sleep. In the morning, the fire was out. Everything was freezing. I opened the back door slowly, afraid of what I might see. The tree was still there, still and silent. But at its base, there was a blackened circle, like the earth had been burned. The grass was dead, the soil dry and cracked, like it had been scorched from below. We didn't eat, didn't talk, just packed up and left. 2 days later, I called the number I'd used to rent the cabin. No answer. The listing was gone, like it had never existed. A few weeks passed. I couldn't get the scream out of my head. It followed me into dreams, into showers, into silent car rides. Finally, I drove back out there. Alone. I don't know why. Closure, maybe. I didn't find the cabin. I found the clearing. I found the driveway. But where the cabin had been, there was nothing but a pile of caved-in wood and charred debris, like it had burned down long ago. A park ranger pulled up while I was standing there. He asked what I was doing. I told him I'd rented the place a few weeks back. He looked confused. "That cabin burned down 10 years ago," he said. "Lightning strike. Killed a couple from out of state." I tried to explain. He didn't believe me. Said I must have gotten turned around. As I was leaving, I asked about the tree, the one behind the cabin. His face changed, got darker. "You don't go near that tree," he said. "Locals call it the screaming tree. Story goes a girl got buried alive under it by some freak cult back in the 60s. No one ever found the body, but people say you can still hear her at night, crying to get out." He leaned in closer. "You're lucky you didn't answer her." That night, I had a dream. I was standing in front of the tree. It was bleeding from the crack in its bark. The same black, twitching hand reached out. But this time I didn't run. I reached back, and when I touched it, it screamed my name. Story 2. I found the cabin through a website that looked like it hadn't been updated since the early 2000s. Gray background, clunky text, broken image links. No reviews, no map, just one photo of a crooked wooden structure half hidden by thick Appalachian trees and a short caption, "Silence for the soul, $30 a night. Email for access." I don't know why I clicked it. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the state of my life at the time. Lonely, burnout, haunted by things I didn't want to admit. Or maybe it was just that single line in the email I got from the owner after I inquired. "You won't find peace here, but you'll find what you're looking for." It sounded dramatic, poetic even. I figured he was trying to be mysterious. Some artist retreat, maybe. I should have known better. The road to the cabin wasn't a road. It was a dirt vein carved into the mountainside, choked with roots and mud. My rental car could only go so far. I had to hike the last mile on foot with my backpack slung over one shoulder, cursing every mosquito that dared buzz too close to my face. When I finally reached the place, my first thought was, this cabin shouldn't be standing. The wood was gray with rot, the windows clouded with grime, the front steps sagging like broken teeth. But still, something about it felt wrong in a different way. Not just old, not just forgotten, used. Inside, it smelled of damp earth and something faintly sweet, like dried flowers left to decay. The mattress in the corner was moldy, but the sheets looked freshly laid. There were dishes in the sink. A half-full cooler sat by the fireplace, and inside were apples, cheese, and a bottle of water. All of it fresh. I stood there in silence, holding the doorknob behind me, listening. I can't explain it exactly, but I knew I wasn't alone. The air was too still, too thick, like the whole place was holding its breath. "Hello," I called out. Nothing. I searched every inch. No closets, no basement, just a single room and an outhouse 20 feet from the porch. There was nowhere for anyone to hide. I should have left then, but I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was just projecting my own tension onto this space. That night, I sat by the fire pit writing in my journal. Just thoughts, nothing profound. I wrote about the silence, about the strange smell, about the feeling in my chest like someone was watching me. I thought I was just being dramatic, until I heard it, a soft dragging noise, slow, scraping across the wooden porch outside. At first, I thought it might be a raccoon, but then it came again, closer this time. Thump, scrape, thump, scrape. I froze, pen still in hand. I didn't want to look, but something inside me said I had to. I crept to the window. There was a woman, crawling. She was soaked, her hair stuck to her face in clumps, her dress torn and sagging with water. Her arms pulled her across the porch while her head hung low, like it was too heavy for her neck. I couldn't see her face, just the way her fingers curled on the wood, dragging her body forward like a broken marionette. She didn't look up, didn't speak, just crawled. I ran to the door, heart thudding, fingers shaking as I reached for the lock, but was already latched. While I turned back to the window, she was gone. The porch was empty. I stood there for a long time waiting, listening, but nothing came again that night. At least, not outside. Inside, something changed. I went back to the fire, sat down, tried to keep writing, to make sense of what I'd seen. But my notebook was gone. I searched the floor, my pack, under the mattress. Gone. In its place, sitting exactly where I'd left mine, was a different notebook. Leather-bound, old, brittle, but when I opened it, it was filled with my handwriting. Pages and pages of it. Neat, familiar, my exact scrawl. But I hadn't written those words. I couldn't have. They were journal entries, just like mine, but from dates that hadn't happened yet. August 3rd. She came to the window tonight. I didn't move. I don't think she saw me. August 5th. She whispered my name. She knows it now. That was a mistake. August 6th. I heard footsteps inside the cabin, but the door never opened. My hands were sweating. I flipped to the very last page. There was only one sentence, underlined 3 times. She comes again tonight. Don't open the door this time. That's when I heard it again. The scraping. Slower this time. Thumb scrape. I backed away from the fire. The air felt heavier than before. My head ached. The window beside the mattress had fogged up, and on the glass was a handprint. Small. Wet. I didn't sleep that night. I sat against the far wall with a fire poker in one hand and the journal in the other. Nothing else happened. Not until sunrise. I left everything, my bag, my phone, even my shoes, and ran barefoot through the woods until I reached the road. When I got back to town, I tried emailing the owner. The message bounced. I checked the website. Gone. Like it had never existed. The domain was dead. No listings. No contact info. Nothing. A week later, I woke to find a package on my doorstep. No label. No return address. Inside was my original notebook, and written in handwriting that wasn't mine, on the very first page, was a new entry. You found what you were looking for. I burned it that night. But sometimes, when the wind gets real quiet outside my apartment window, I swear I can hear the sound. Thumb scrape, thumb scrape, and I don't go near the door. Not anymore. Story 3. We thought we were invincible. 19 years old, high on youth and boredom, walking around like ghosts couldn't touch us, like monsters needed our permission. It was early October, that soft shift between summer's end and winter's whisper, when Mark found the old cabin. He had this map, torn and yellowed, the kind you'd think was fake if not for the bloodstain on the corner. Found it in my dad's old army trunk, he said with a grin too wide for the woods. The map led to an abandoned hunting cabin outside Whitefish, Montana, about a 3-hour hike from the last paved road. Word was, something bad happened there, something that stuck. Juno, Mark, and I made a plan. We were going to camp out there overnight. No tents, no phones, just us and whatever haunted dreams we could stir up. Just a dare, we told ourselves. Just a laugh in the dark. The hike was brutal. Twisting paths, fallen trees, the kind of silence that makes you talk too much just to hear your own voice. When we found the cabin, it was almost evening. The place looked like it had been coughed up by the forest. Half rotted, moss chewing the edges, its bones creaking with every breeze. But it was still standing, somehow, waiting. We lit a fire in the old stone hearth. The smoke rose through a crooked chimney, and the place filled with the smell of wet ash and damp wood. We passed around a bottle of whiskey and talked big, ghost stories, urban legends, all the usual nonsense. Juno was the one who said it first. Let's stay up till midnight. They say if you're still inside when the clock hits 12:14, he comes. The man in the woods. She smiled when she said it, but I noticed her hand twitch slightly around the bottle. Mark laughed too loud. I just nodded, pretending I wasn't already feeling like we were playing with something that didn't want to be played with. We didn't have a clock, no phone, just a beat-up old watch I wore that still ticked. At 12:14 a.m., exactly, the door creaked open. Not swung, not slammed. It creaked, the kind of sound that feels personal, like it knows your name. Mark was still by the fire, head bent over his sketchbook. He looked up, eyes wide. Did you open that? I shook my head slowly. We stood and stared at the door. Nothing behind it but trees, shadows, and a black that didn't end. Maybe the wind. I offered, even though the air had gone completely still. We stepped outside together, flashlights cutting weak cones into the trees. Nothing moved. No animals. No wind. Not even a leaf dared to flutter. I turned back first. The cabin sat there like a hungry mouth, door yawning open. When we stepped inside, Juno was gone. Gone. No sound, no scream, no sign of struggle. Just her jacket crumpled near the hearth. I called her name, my voice bouncing off the walls too loud, too human. Mark sprinted out into the woods, screaming her name. I followed. We searched. For minutes. For hours. I don't know anymore. It felt endless, like we'd slipped into another kind of time. The forest didn't want to help. It swallowed our voices, echoed them back wrong. Then we heard her voice from the cabin. Guys, I'm scared. We ran, not toward the sound, into it, back through the doorway, into the firelight. She was sitting by the hearth, right where she'd been hours before. Her back was to us. She turned when we spoke her name. It wasn't Juno. It looked like her. Same auburn hair, same jacket, same little scar on her eyebrow from when she fell off a swing in second grade. But the face was wrong. Her eyes were completely black. No whites, no pupils, just bottomless holes. Her smile stretched too far, like rubber pulled too tight. And her voice, God, it was sweet, calm, familiar, but with a low hum beneath it, like there was something else speaking at the same time. You weren't supposed to leave me alone, she said. Mark didn't say a word. He just grabbed my arm and ran. We didn't stop until we reached the gravel road. Slept by the mile marker with our backs to the woods, too scared to even blink. We told the ranger the next morning that our friend got lost. A search party went up. They found ashes. Just ashes where the cabin used to be. Charred wood, cracked stone, and a single melted piece of Juno's necklace buried in the rubble. They never found her body, not even a tooth. 2 weeks later, I got a voicemail from her number. No words, just breathing. Then, finally a whisper. It wasn't a dare. He made me stay. I deleted it. I shouldn't have, because now, every night at 12:14, my phone rings once. Just once. No caller ID. No voicemail anymore. Just one ring. Sometimes I answer. Sometimes I hear her crying. And sometimes I think I hear something breathing just behind her, waiting for me to come back.